Welcome to the Daily Market Recap, a detailed review of the market structure and the key support and resistance levels in the S&P 500 E-mini. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2013. I'm Bill Duryea with Follow the Bots. S&P futures broke down below support at 1662 during Tuesday's session. On Monday, the S&P had attempted to auction back up to the high at 1685. However, the auction stalled up at 1680 and price sold off into the close. Overnight, the S&P sold off to 1663. Price recovered prior to the open and traded back up to 1672. S&P futures encountered selling pressure on the retracement, pulled back to retest the low, and breached support, trading down to 1646. For a detailed review of today's market developments, we'll turn our analysis to the point and figure chart. I've highlighted the key reference points that developed during today's session. First of all, overnight, the S&P pulled back to what had been support at 1663. Our frequent listeners will remember that during yesterday's session, S&P futures sold down from 1672. At the open, price auctioned back to the initiated selling point, and the buying interest faded. The market pulled back to retest the prior low and initially traded down to probe for stops, typically located 2 points beneath the previous low. Following the probe for stops, the S&P failed to auction back up into the previous trading range. The retracement encountered selling pressure. At the close of the European session, the selling pressure increased, and S&P futures traded down initially to 1653. There was a minor retracement up to the 1658 price level, but on the subsequent pullback to 1653, the selling pressure returned. S&P futures traded down to 1651 before retracing back up at or near 1658, 1657. Once again, the retracement encountered selling pressure. Price auctioned back down to the earlier low and continued selling down into the close. At the open of today's Globex session, the selling pressure continued and the S&P sold down to 1646. Coming into tomorrow's session, minor resistance is located at today's retracement price level at or near 1658. The more significant selling pressure is located up at what had been previous support at or near 1664, 1666. The next known support level below today's low is located at the September 6th low down at 1636. Beneath that is the late August support level located down at 1624. Over the past 3 days, the market has gone through 3 major reversals. First, the S&P sold down to 1663. 80% of the S&P stocks traded below their prior day's close. Then the price direction reversed and the S&P short covered back up through the range, trading up to 1685. 80% of the S&P components traded above their prior day's close. Yesterday, the selling pressure returned, and today the selling pressure intensified. The market is now prone to short covering, and should the S&P auction above 1658, There is the potential for short covering back up to 1663, 1666. In the event the S&P auctions back to the midpoint of the developing trading range at or near the retracement level that developed during today's session, we would expect the initial retracement to encounter a sell response and the S&P to auction back down at or near today's settlement and potentially retest the overnight low. That concludes our daily recap for the S&P 500 E-mini. If you would like to follow our real-time commentary, we invite you to visit us online at www.followthebots.com. Log on and join us some morning at the open.